Hi, I'm Alpesh Doshi from Fintricity, and I'm going to talk to you about the power of data and AI for SMEs and startups. Some of you, all of you will know that the data has grown, digital data has grown significantly over the last 10 years. You know, the amount of data created is humongous and it's growing significantly over the next few years. Primarily because digital businesses are becoming more prevalent, and also the creation of data on all the different applications and services either you create as an SME or we create in social media and other channels is growing like crazy. But the problem is 90% of all data is still locked up. It's not really used. Even if you're an SME, thinking about how data could be used that you're creating but also using data externally could really help you as a business, and thinking about how that works is going to be really important as you grow your businesses. The thing to remember is AI is only at the beginning. You know, whatever you see around AI, the reality is very few companies have really got any business value from using AI in their business. So we're right at the beginning of the journey, and therefore you guys as SMEs have such an opportunity to capture AI and data and make your business grow significantly. In the media, we see AI everywhere. People talk about AI and the use of AI in computer vision, in self-driving, and a whole number of other areas. The reality is AI is right at the beginning. You know, AI is not really embedded into most businesses. It's not really used in anger anywhere. And, you know, therefore that's the opportunity for you as a business. As you're an SME, thinking about AI and how that's going to fit not just in the product or service you're offering, but actually end to end across your business. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those areas, one of which will be marketing. The reality is that if you want to be a next generation SME and grow into a large company, you need to embed AI into everything that you do and think about how data fits into that from day one, and think architecturally how it fits, thinking from a business model perspective, thinking from a product perspective. How does AI apply to everything that you do? Some of the things that we see quite a lot is, where do SMEs start? Where do you start using data? What value can data be into your business? And how can you leverage data to improve your product or your service and expand your customer base? So one of the key areas is around identifying key metrics. Without knowing where your business is, without knowing how your customers perform, how your product's doing, how your social media presence and marketing presence are doing, how do you know what to do next? So building your own metrics internally, and there's a load of resources out there which will help you do that. So as an example, customer acquisition cost. Figure out what your customer acquisition cost is, understanding how to pull that together, understanding how to embed that into your business really will help you figure out, okay, how do I reduce my customer acquisition cost? How much I'm going to spend on it? Where am I going to spend the money? That really will help you as a business. The second thing is around leveraging data. Now, don't just think about data that you produce. Think about data that's available out there. So yes, you can get social media data from Instagram and Facebook and lots of other places, but actually there's a whole suite of non-traditional data sources which are all open source and available for free that you could use, that feeds into your business and feeds into your own models that can help you significantly if you take advantage of those. The final bit is really actually being able to build these things. You know, most SMEs don't really have the expertise in-house around data science, and being able to build, operate, and deliver those data science models is actually quite an expensive task. Being able to figure out how do I build an enterprise-grade data platform and an AI platform requires a lot of investment. So what I would be thinking about is, how do I focus on my use cases in my business rather than trying to figure out how to build my infrastructure? Now, the important thing to remember here is the cloud platforms like AWS or Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud Platform do provide you that, but you still have to build it. So thinking about how I can shortcut that, and I'm going to focus on my use cases rather than focus on the infrastructure, is one of the key things to think about. So as I'm sure all of you know, data is critical for every SME to grow, to scale, and to acquire new customers. So thinking about that from a marketing perspective is a really important part to think about. My focus is going to be on marketing. So everybody can build a nice product, they can have AI embedded into the product, but the reality is, unless you can reach your customer, engage your customer, find your customer, get them through the customer journey, figure out the product and service you're going to offer, it's really difficult to get to grow as a business. So one of the key things that most people forget is, how do you find your customer? How do you go to market? And one of the key areas is around using marketing data. Now, the challenges right now are that companies like Google and Google and Apple have changed the way you actually can track customers and users, potential users across the web and to your site. Cookies are going, so not going to be able to use cookies to track people. So a lot of the advertising industry uses cookies to a great extent to basically allow them to track and then help you guys find customers. But the reality is you can't do that anymore. Secondly, you've got to think about having a one-to-one relationship with every single customer. Building your brand and tailoring and customizing that customer journey through your application, your service, is important to think about from a one-to-one perspective. So not just saying we're going to provide a single user experience, but thinking about your product and saying, how can you enhance and customize the user experience for everybody? Thirdly, thinking about aggregation of data across your internal systems, but also externally. So a very simple example, one of the key things if you're any business, whether you're a consumer business or a B2B business, you need to have a customer relationship management system. How can you track customers and know customers unless you have a CRM? Thinking about bringing that CRM in early is really important, but more than that, thinking about how the CRM fits around the data landscape that you need to build. So another example would be putting in the ability to collect data from every part of your application. So your app, how does your app behave? What the pages are? How do people move up and down? What do they click on? All of those things, all of those behaviors should be captured and integrated with your CRM and integrated with social media data and lots of other data. Then you can start thinking about how AI can be applied. Because if you can understand those things and put that together, it really will help you accelerate your business and accelerate the aggregation and accelerate getting the right customers at the right price into your business. Leading more onto that, look at the omnichannel experiences. Look across not just your own website or your app, but actually look at your brand across the web, where it is, how it is. Yes, people talk about the social media presences on Instagram or on other channels, but actually thinking about your branding, your positioning, your tone of voice. How do you cross the web and across your market build those omnichannel presences which feel uniform? So the obvious example of companies like Apple, and Google and Amazon, they have a uniform experience. You're seeing something from those companies when you're out there. So you've got to think about the same. One of the other elements is around marketing ROI. If you're going to spend money on marketing, understanding where you're going to spend it, how much you're going to spend, when you're going to spend, and actually have a feedback loop by collecting the data on when you spend something. So very simple example, if you're going to advertise on Facebook, knowing when to advertise, to what audience, at what time, with what message, should all be driven by data. And once you've spent that money, make sure you collect the data and understand what the effect of that was. Even if you spend $10 on one campaign, bringing the data in to understand, was that $10 effective? Did we convert a customer? Did we get more traffic to our website, which was converted to a customer? Is really important on an ROI. So you're connecting all those things together. One of the things to remember if you're a consumer business is that there's a lot of regulation around GDPR. So you can't just use data. Can't just use personal data. You've got to be able to get permission from your customers to use the data they provide to you for only the purpose that they give you permission for. You can't use it for one purpose and then repurpose it for something else. You have to get explicit permission. So don't forget that GDPR and data protection regulations are really going to be important to you. And you will have seen in the media, big companies like Amazon getting fined because they didn't adhere to these regulations. So don't think of it as, well, it won't happen to us. Every company has a duty to make sure they follow those GDPR regulations. This is just an example to look at how you can use data and AI across building your business and fitting data into everything you're doing. So firstly, look at customer data and put it into your CRM system. Collect every piece of data you can and extend your CRM system so that you can cut as much data as possible. Connect that data to other data like social media data or advertising data. Bring data in from other systems like MailChimp, or there's a whole suite of advertising and marketing systems that exist out there which you may or may not use. Bring that data in. You might want to bring data in from your finance system, because when you have a customer, you want to understand customer churn and customer lifetime value. How much is this customer worth to me, and can I convert them to a better plan, for example? So being able to bring all these data together is a really important thing. On the other side, you've got to look at insights. You've got to think about how to build your product in your product development cycle by looking at segmentation and demographics. So don't just rely on Facebook or some other channel to say, yeah, we're going to segment this audience for you, because they do that for you. But actually before that, understand who your customer is. Use the public data available, bring it together, build those demographics, build a model that you can integrate into every part of the business that you have. Think about personalization strategies. Think about how you can personalize the experience, find the personas, build those personas, test them. So this is important, right? This is not about saying it's fixed, you build it once and you go. You're gonna be learning all the time. You're gonna build the personas, you test the model, does it work? Did we get the impact that we needed? Did we measure the right metrics and get the KPIs? Did they work? So being able to have that inquisitive cycle driven by data and analytics is absolutely important for your SME, really important. And similarly, then you can use that for campaign tracking. So when you create a campaign, make sure that you use the data to drive what campaign you're going to do, how you're going to spend your money, where you're going to spend your money. And the reality is, I'm, to be honest, not a fan of spending money on advertising. I'd rather do organic marketing and find communities to engage with, because you can build a lot better customer bases on the basis of reaching out to the communities that are out there to get your customers, rather than trying to blast it across the whole of the web on Facebook, for example. Find the communities that are yours, that you're targeting, and engage in those communities, whether it's on LinkedIn or third-party social networks or something else. Being able to find the right audiences saves you a lot of money, and actually you can learn a lot more by these communities, because they're the kind of communities you want to engage with, and therefore you can build the characteristics more accurately about those customers that you're trying to gain. And AI can fit into all of that. You can build lots of different models that can fit into all of those things. Some of them are available open source, some of them you can buy, some of them you can write yourselves. But the important thing is that you get the data right, and then you overlay those AI models. So what benefit is there for that? You get personalized promotions based on customer personas. That's really important. Personalized and consistent messaging. So your tone of voice, how you talk to the customer, what messaging you send. So for example, if you're doing an email campaign, what are the steps that you need to do? Did it work? Did you have the right message? Bringing the aggregation together and saying we need to adjust our messaging and adjust our email campaigning to help you gain more access to customers better. What it also does is basically allows you to create better lead generation. At the end of the day, that's what it's about, is how do I create a big funnel, and how do I get them into and convert them into a customer, and what do I need to do for that? So being able to do that via lead management, via data, is really also important. And finally, we're talking about advertising. We talked about advertising and spending money. Think really hard about just spending $10 a day or $20 a day, $100 a day on Google Ads or on Facebook or other channels. Think really more about advertising effectiveness, and make sure you monitor that inside out so you really know what you're spending your money on. Think about also data science and how that fits. Data science should be an element. You should have somebody who is a lead data scientist who only focuses on that piece in your business. Now, obviously you can do it yourselves or you can work with other people, but that's a key skill to have. And a data scientist is a very specific skill. It isn't somebody who's a software engineer. It isn't somebody who's a DevOps engineer. A data scientist is a very specific person who knows and understands how to build models. But make sure they have an appreciation of software engineering and AI and how it deploys and goes live. Because one of the challenges that I've seen is data scientists don't necessarily understand the technology infrastructure that it runs on. So you can build an AI model, which may be amazing, but if it costs $1,000 a day to run it, that's, it's pointless, right? But data scientists don't necessarily think of that. So what you have to do is say, hey, you need an appreciation of how to build and run the model so that it's cost effective and allows you to embed that into all parts of your business. In summary, what you need to think about is, one of the ways to look at it is around customer data platform. Think about a customer data platform and a data layer across your business. Think about how you bring all that data together, and on top of that, build your models. And you can do things like, building data applications. For me, one of the most important things around data and AI is actually then building data-driven applications from day one in your business. So think of it that way around. Don't think about an app and then the data. Think about the data and how the app's built on top of the data. So it's a subtly different way of doing it, but really powerful, because if you focus on that, you'll do way better, because when you develop your product and enhance your product, it's always driven by data across the whole value chain as well. Don't forget to look at third-party data. Don't forget, because there's huge amounts of open source data available that you can use, and obviously on the social media channels, that really will help you find the customer, engage the customer, know the customer a lot better. Think about embedding AI into every part of the business. Think about running models on every part of the business. Think about when you're building the consumer app or the mobile app, think about how a model can be embedded into the journey and how that's going to run and execute on the infrastructure that you build, and how much it's going to cost, and how effective it is, and how you can keep improving the model. If you're building a machine learning model, how can you improve it? How can you build into the whole life cycle of what you're building the continuous improvement of the model and refinement of the model that gives you better answers? A couple of the other ones which are really basic that you should think about, I mentioned customer acquisition cost earlier. Think about that, just as one metric. There's 50, 100 different metrics you could create in your business. Find the ones that work for you. Find the 5 to 10 metrics that are going to help you understand your business and pull the levers that help you grow your business. Because without that, your leading is blind, right? You're spending money here, you're spending money there. You don't know whether it's going to be effective or not. Think about the key KPIs that your business runs on, build those out, make sure you have the data available for that, and continually iterate on the model to make sure it improves, so that you really do understand how to grow your business. You really understand these 10 metrics, let's say, and each of them are probably interdependent. How do they integrate? How do they interface with it? How do they interact with each other? And how does changing one lever, for example, I'm going to double my marketing spend, but actually what impact does that have on customer lifetime value? What impact does it have on my customer journey and sign up? All those things are really important to think about, but think about them in an integrated way. So build those customer journey mapping tools, but drive it through a single data layer, in this case, a customer data platform that really will help you think about how to grow your business more easily, because you're thinking about the foundation of your business, which is data. If you're a digital business, your business is data. If you're any business, data is the foundation of your business. Think about how data fits in and think of it from that perspective when you create and enhance your products. So, what can AI and data do for you? Firstly, it helps you on customer acquisition. I've talked about it a lot around marketing. If you can understand where your customer is, if you can understand how much they're going to spend, when they're going to spend, where they are, where they participate, what they're interested in, being able to understand that really will help you grow faster. Find the competitive edge, right? If you use data when you're building your business, you can build and understand the competitive edge that you have amongst other competitors out there. And you really need to clarify yourself and understand that. Now, one of the ways to do this is actually follow the competitors. Use data from external sources and actually capture your own data about your competitors and what they're doing. So very simply, I think on Google, you can go and actually see actually not on Google, on Facebook, you can go and see what your competitors are spending and what their ads look like. You can go and have a look at their ads and see what ads they're playing out, and you can use that to understand how you customize your ads and how you can customize your campaigns to make it better. Think about growth strategies. So growth strategies are important. How are you going to grow your business month on month? If you're going to raise funding, investors are looking for that exponential growth, not just from a data perspective, but operationally. How have you embedded data across the whole business? How can you show the metrics that show an investor that we're going to have that big growth? And investors will look at that. They'll look at the machinery and go, yeah, you've got all the pieces, and I can see the machine rolling, and that machine, that operations can show that the business is growing. If you can prove that with data to an investor, they would love that. They would love that, and they'd be more confident investing in you, because they can say, well, if I pump in X million dollars, that I know that because of the processes that you have, the business will grow a significant amount. So it's really important to think about growth strategies and embed those in, going back to the KPI metrics I mentioned. Another area is product development. If you're building a digital business or any business, product development is really important. What's the next feature I should offer my customer? why I should offer it, when should we offer it, who's the segment of that, who's the segment of customer that will need that feature. Understanding what that is, building it out, embedding it in, testing it to see, does it work? Did these customers use it? Did they use it in the way we thought they were going to use it? All of these things need data into the product development cycle, and you embed that in. You embed that from day one. The final point is knowing what the hell's going on. So reporting and business intelligence and metrics and dashboarding is really, really important. So making sure everybody in the business can have their own dashboard and have their own intelligence, have their own KPIs, that they can see how the business is functioning. They have their own view of the business and the data, so they can know as a job, what do they need to do. So all of these things and loads more can really help you grow your business. And having an underlying data platform is something that will definitely help you do that. Finally, there are 3 big areas you think about. 1, bring your data together. Bring your internal data, your external data. Move beyond just having a part of your data. Think about how you bring all of the data across every part of your business and from externally together. Obviously, put everything in cloud. You know, that's the only way you can scale. You can't really scale your business without using cloud, especially when the amounts of data can be significant. You won't be able to afford the infrastructure somewhere else, and cloud's the only way to do it. Don't forget about architecture. You know, don't just build the app. Think about how all the pieces fit together. It's really important to think about architecture at the beginning. You don't have to build a massive architecture picture, but really understand, have an architect in your team so that they can build the right architecture to help you scale as you move along. Rather than having to rebuild stuff or you have complexity in how you build it, really think about how the architecture can evolve as you evolve your data, as you evolve your product, as you evolve the revenue in your business. Apply AI to everything. Without that, you won't be able to understand your business, you won't be able to expand your business, you won't know where to go, what's the next feature I build. Think about how to do that. Think about how to dynamically scale AI. AI, as I said earlier, can potentially cost a lot of money. As you start building more sophisticated models, potentially it could cost a lot of money to run an AI model. You don't want that. You don't want to have to realize one day you ran a model and it cost you $1,000 a day just because you didn't think about how to scale it. So it's important not to forget that AI and machine learning doesn't just mean it's built once and it's off you go. You've got to keep retraining the model and got to understand what the economics are about running that model. Make sure as you drive the business processes in the company that every business process has AI in it. Yeah, every business process has data and AI in it so that you can embed AI decisioning into everything that you're doing. And build data-driven applications. As I said at the beginning, don't think of data as a byproduct. Think of it as the main piece of fuel that will help you grow your business. So think about building the data bit first and then the applications sit on top of the data. So what you're doing is you're doing it the right way around. You're using data to drive the building of the application, not the other way around. Because you can do that, you can then build lots of different applications, lots of different features because you've got the data sorted and you can then put features very easily across your business very easily. And innovate faster, build faster, change faster. And that's what matters on an SME and a startup is you need to build fast, you need to change fast, you need to pivot fast. When you know that something you've done isn't working, you can move faster. And how do you know that? Well, you've got to have the data, you've got to have the models that tell you that your business is working or not working. And that will help you grow faster and that will help you pivot if you need to. So thank you very much. We're going to be talking to you on a panel. So ask questions up front or on the panel. It'll be great to hear from you. And you can get in touch with me on my details there. And thank you very much.